that seems to be most people's response to this election. At least a lot of people's response. You woke up this morning and you found out that Donald Trump is president. So, I don't know, maybe you're someone who supported him, maybe you're someone who had the reaction I just demonstrated. Either way, this election has definitely brought out some fear, definitely rocked some people's worlds. Everyone's a little on edge. So let's talk about this on today's Scott's Thoughts, now in stunning HD. I am so sorry. Anyways, so as you probably know by now, Donald Trump is now the president-elect of the United States. And you're probably wondering, how did this happen? I mean, even if, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe if you're for him, you think it's great, but the fact is, if you said a year ago that Donald Trump would be president of the United States, I think most people would have just laughed at that and said, that's insane. You mean that nut from The Apprentice? He's gonna be the president of this country? No, never gonna happen. And yet it's gonna happen. So how do we move on from this? Whether you love him, whether you hate him, whether you really don't care, and honestly, I don't know how you can't care one way or the other. If you live in this country, even if you don't live in this country, because the U.S. is still a major world power, and who becomes president will probably affect you in some way. How do we get through this? Well, a few things to remember. All right, first of all, he's the president, not the dictator. Not, we have a system of checks and balances in this country, which means just because he wants to do something doesn't mean he gets to do it. Okay? And you probably don't even, maybe you don't like your representatives. I know a lot of us probably don't like our representatives, but it's still better than him ruling supreme on his own, I mean, that's true of any president. I don't care whether you loved him or not. There's a reason our forefathers set up a system where we don't have a king or a dictator, where we have representatives. We have a president who, by the way, in case you don't know, we don't elect the president. The Electoral College elects the president. They usually go with the popular vote, almost always. I mean, and let's put it this way, not with the national popular vote, with their state's popular vote. Each state has X number of electorates in the Electoral College based on the population of the state. Anyways, they elect the president, but they usually go by the popular vote of their state. They don't have to, but they pretty much always do. But anyways, yeah. We have a system of checks and balances. We have representatives, not just a president. We don't just have like a king or a dictator. So my advice would be, when it's time to elect your representatives, and some states got to elect representatives this year, some didn't. It just depends on where you are on the election cycle. Try to elect someone who actually represents you. Or, I mean, you're probably not going to find someone who perfectly represents you, let's face it. No two people are going to agree on everything. Try to find the person that most matches your values. And my values maybe very possibly are different than your values. I don't know who's watching this. But, you do have some power there. We are not a democracy either. Our representatives are democratically elected, but this isn't a democracy. Again, another thing I don't think a lot of people understand, that the United States is not now, nor ever has been, a democracy. If this was a true democracy, we wouldn't have representatives. We would vote for everything. No, we have democratically elected representatives. And supposedly they represent the people, which means supposedly, yes, we have say in our government. It's just, we don't vote for every single solitary thing. Our representatives are supposed to say, okay, what do the people I represent want? And they're supposed to do that. And I don't think that happens all the time or even often. But, yeah, so we have representatives. So you need to vote for people who come close to representing you. And this is hard because, first of all, we have career politicians, and somehow, even though people say they hate them, they keep electing them. And sometimes because they run unopposed, sometimes because everyone who runs, they don't really like any of them. So like, well, I don't like the guy, but I don't know what's going to happen if I elect this guy. At least I know what to expect from the guy who's been in, so I'll just elect him again. Maybe we need people running who represent us better. And the problem is, you've got to be wealthy to run in this country now, which is not what our founding fathers intended. Our founding fathers intended for the average Joe to be able to represent the people, because the average Joe actually represents the people of this country. To be fair, I mean, you can understand a wealthy person voting for a wealthy person because they get where they're coming from, and you get a farmer voting for a farmer, or whatever, or you can understand people voting for people like them because they get what they are. But most people in this country aren't wealthy. Well, wealthy in American terms. I'm not going to really get into the fact that we're pretty much all wealthy on a worldwide standard, but most of us aren't fabulously wealthy by American standards, and yet somehow most of our representatives are very, very wealthy. Again, probably because you have to be wealthy to run a campaign anymore in this country now, and not what our founding fathers intended. So if we can get to the point where we're actually getting representatives who represent us, then even if the president is nuts and does not represent us at all, we can have representatives that keep him in check. I mean, that's the point. Checks and balances, so one branch of the government doesn't just take over. In other words, the president just doesn't take over. The judicial system doesn't just take over. The military doesn't just take over. So remember, just because Trump's president doesn't mean everything he thinks and says he's going to do or says he wants to do is going to happen. Okay? The country just doesn't work like that. It never has. It never, hopefully never will. So like Trump's wall between Mexico and the United States, probably not going to happen. Simply because he doesn't have enough support to do it. And I can't figure out how he thinks he's going to get Mexico to pay for it. That baffles me. Mexico will pay for the wall. Yeah, how's that going to happen? How are you going to make them pay for it? And maybe I'm tipping my hand that I don't like him, but just to be fair, I didn't like Hillary either. But again, I'm just saying, if you're afraid of all the things Trump wants to do, just keep in mind he can't do everything he wants to do. He just can't, because he doesn't have that kind of authority. I mean, he doesn't yet anyways, he's only the president-elect. But in January, he will not have the authority to just do whatever it is he wants to do. So if you're worried about all the things Trump wants to do, all his policies, just keep in mind he can't just do stuff. He can't. So, and again, I mean, I know it's still a Republican-controlled Congress, but a lot of Republican leaders never supported him, or when he started getting really nuts, they said, wait a minute, I don't want to support this guy anymore, he's crazy. So we have a Republican-controlled Congress, but I don't think they're going to pass everything that Trump puts before them. So if you're worried about him getting his way all the time, it's not going to happen. I'm a little afraid he's going to shoot his mouth off at the wrong world leader. I could be wrong. I mean, for all we know, half this was an act, and he's not going to be like this in office. But if that's true, then I don't know if I really want a president who isn't himself running. Like, if when you're running, you should be the you're going to be when you're president. That's my opinion. The American people should know who they're really voting for. Not a performance. I don't know. So that's my thought on that. Let's see. So things I want to talk about. Yeah, vote for representatives who represent you. Very hard to do. President can't just do whatever he wants. And third, this is not the first presidential election where people said, "Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world." Okay? Pretty much every election, there's someone who said, I mean, look, when Obama got in, guess what? There were people saying this is the end of the world, or he's the Antichrist, and, well, none of that turned out to be true. When Reagan got elected, people thought this is going to be the end of the world, and it wasn't. And, hey, he got the Berlin Wall torn down, so he couldn't have been all that bad. I mean, I think we're all glad that happened. So, calm down. Don't panic. it's not the end of the world. I don't think. You know, again, he's one guy who, yeah, he's in the highest office in the country, but he does not have absolute rule. So he can't do everything he wants. Yeah, and that was my thoughts. I'm sure I'll think of other things later that I could have said, but I think I got the big stuff out of the way. So anyways, you can leave comments in the comments below. I don't know, I might get some pro-Trumpers or who hate me, or pro-Hillary people who hate me because I said I didn't support Hillary. What are you gonna do? You know, everyone's not gonna agree with you all the time. You can't please everyone, and if you try to please everyone, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. So yeah, get any comments, leave them below. If you've got ideas for future Scott's Thoughts, comments below. Someday I would really like to do a baking video. Don't know if that's gonna happen. The whole HD thing, I'm actually using my webcam on my computer. I got a new computer. It's got actually a really decent webcam, so I thought I'd give it a whirl. But I still have an SD camcorder, and I really don't plan on investing in an HD camcorder anytime soon because I don't use it enough to justify it. But that could change. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe if I get a job that pays me better, I might be like, hey, I'll get a camera. But I don't know. It's not that vital right now. Yeah. So if you get ideas for Scott's Thoughts, I'd really like to do some sketch comedy sometime. I haven't really gotten to that yet. I know, some ideas I've got in my head, but I need other people to do them with, and because I have no life, I have no one to do sketch comedy with, at least with multiple people. I'm really trying to come up with a new, like, sketch comedy that I could do by myself. I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind. I don't know what's going on. Riff samples. If you go through my channel, you might notice that I have samples for my riffs, my funny, I'm gonna put that in quotes because maybe you don't think they're funny movie commentaries. Pretty much from here on out, if it's not in the public domain, I'm not gonna put a sample up, because YouTube, and not just YouTube, content holders, copyright holders don't seem to understand the concept of fair use, and that my samples fall under fair use. And I'm really tired of trying to fight it, because you don't win. And you can put in a disclaimer, or whatever the heck the right term is, a grievance, I can't remember what the term is they use, and say, yeah, this falls under fair use, but it never works. It just doesn't. I think it worked once with my Terminator 2 sample. It worked until I fixed the aspect ratio on it, and it counted as a new video, and they flagged it, and I sent the exact same disclaimer in, saying the exact same thing, and this time they rejected it. I don't know. I'm not selling the movie here. I'm not even really, I'm not making money off a sample. People probably actually have to buy the movie. We'll have to actually get the movie, buy it, rent it, whatever, and I can't control that, to watch the riff. Second, it'll get more people watching your movie. So what's your problem? I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, no new riff samples, and I'm only tacking all this on in here, so I don't have to make a separate video. So anyways, I will not see you next time, because as I've explained in other videos, I can't see you through this, and so saying I'll see you next time just seems kind of silly. Goodbye.